Paul Dumbrell, this is where it all has to happen from 9th position on the grid here for race 2. How are you feeling right now? The nerves kicking in?
No, it's quite good. Obviously, the track's a bit damp on our starting lap. You know, it's quite wet out of some of the corners and into the braking areas. But, no, you know, I know what I have to do, and I'm just going to go and beat the guy next to me, Simon Wills.
Well, Dumbrell will carry one of our trackside onboard cameras as he makes his way around the circuit. Here's another one, Craig Harris in the Castrol Ford. And Ross Halliday in the 3M Racing Ford. This is how they'll line up. Keep in mind, this is a reverse grid race. Eddie Abel-Nisa from pole. He qualified 11th, finished 10th in the opening race. Leanne Ferrier will start beside him.
If you look down the right-hand side of the starting grid there, you'll see those yellow boxes. That shows where they qualified, so you can get an idea of how the drivers are progressing throughout the day. Daniel Miller, as a result of that big spin, he'll start off the back of the grid.
Now, there is damp conditions here at Mallala, and this is going to make for a very exciting second race of the day. Revs rising. Away we go in race 2. Good start by Abel-Nisa. Harris gets a little sideways. Dale Breed already trying to make up a position, but Leanne Ferrier pushes her way through. She takes the lead in the opening corner.
Fantastic start for Leanne Ferrier. She took advantage of that reverse grid situation. Now she's going to lead this big pack. Oh, problems here for Michael Simpson and Dale Breed. This always happens, Craig, in this reverse grid. Always get a bit of drama a bit further back in the pack.
Well, definitely, if something's going to happen, it happens off the start line, and it has. I'm not sure where Simon Wills and Paul Dumbrell have ended up out of all that. They were behind all that, but Leanne Ferrier here doing a great job in very slippery conditions.
Sixth horse, Simon Wills is already up into 6th position on the opening lap, so he's made big gains from that moment. Owen Kelly trying to fight his way back through. Dumbrell is a little further back and looks as though he may be struggling in some way.
Yeah, the conditions here have really deteriorated since race 1. You can see the track has a bit of a sheen on it. So you can see how slippery it is. Leanne Ferrier just got tangled up on the brakes. Abel-Nisa comes along the side of the Valvoline Cummins car as they punch out of the hairpin down the back straight for the first time. Look at this. Abel-Nisa takes the lead, but Leanne Ferrier fighting back on the outside. Adam Wallace is involved in this too.
Dumbrell, we have gotten word from the pits, is in trouble. There is some sort of drama with the Wins Commodore. We'll try and find out just exactly what it is. Grant Denyer is there, but at the moment, Abel-Nisa has regained the lead from Leanne Ferrier.
Eddie will be enjoying this. He stripped his crown wheel and pinion in the differential in practice session 1 yesterday. In the second session, he clipped a wall, so he lost a heap of track time. So he'll be enjoying this run at the front after a pretty bad start to the weekend.
And a car that's got a good history as well. It's the car that both Greg Murphy and Stephen Richards drove at Bathurst last year, one of the last Commodores to be built in the Gibson Motorsport Workshop last season. This season, of course, Craig Lowndes is aboard a Ford.
Well, it is. It's great. It's great for the guys down there, and it's been a big turnaround for them and for myself, but this is where it's all happening.
Oh, now, problems here. Dumbrell is coming into pit lane. Well, this is really going to shake up the championship.
And it's going to shake it up even more when you consider that Simon Wills is up into 5th position. So let's have another look at this start here. This is the view from Paul Dumbrell's car.
This is coming off the start, and not sure, just going into first turn. There's Simon Wills on the right.
Oh.
There's contact there. Spinner happening. Looks like Owen Kelly.
Mayhem. Cars going all over the place. Simon Wills had a
there's
big
contact
hit.
there. I'm not sure.
That was, I think, you'll find, yeah, that was Simon Wills on Paul Dumbrell. That was a big hit.
That's 2 times those guys made contact in the approach to the corner and then on the exit to the corner.
Just wonder if the officials may want to say something about that. Craig Harris leaves a big hole open there, and like, Simon Wills moves through another spot.
This is like an ice skating rink out there at the moment. You can see the conditions very, very slippery. Everyone's struggling to get 600 horsepower to the ground.
Let's go to the pits.
What a disastrous start to race 2 for you, Paul Dumbrell. What happened?
Obviously got not a bad start and got around the outside of Simon Wills around turn 2, and then coming out of turn 2 he turned right into me, obviously, to push me out of the way, and that's the end of our race and obviously our championship hopes, which are quite a disappointment.
Of course, only a couple of points you were leading, you know, into this race with, and now it just ends all right here. What can you say about that move by Simon? Wasn't deliberate, or was he trying to avoid an accident? Do you know?
We're coming out of the corner, and I'm not going to blame, you know, everything on Simon, but I believe that he moved out on me, obviously, to move me out of the way, and can't do much about it now, and you know, it looks like he's going to win it.
I know how much you wanted to take your first championship right here this weekend. It hasn't happened. What do you do from here?
I'll just go, you know, keep my head up and battle on. But, you know, I've learned a lot this year, and disappointing I didn't get it. But, you know, that's just the luck of the draw.
Well, Paul Dumbrell is pretty adamant that Simon Wills is at fault there, so I just wonder if the officials are going to look even more closely at that incident. But just doing the numbers here, I don't know if Paul actually realises he still is mathematically in with a chance of winning the title, but it's going to be awfully hard off the back of the grid in the next race.
Yeah, that's the big factor, isn't it? He's got to start from the back. Meanwhile, this man, his main contender for the title, Simon Wills, is absolutely carving through the field. He started from 10th as a result of his win in race 1. The top 10 reversed, of course. He started off 10th, and he is absolutely charging. Look where he's up to now.
He's up into position number 2 and knocking on the door of the lead. Craig Lowndes, he's one of the most vocal against the reverse grid system, and yet he's making the most of it here at the moment.
He definitely has. Some days it does go for you, but the one thing now Simon has to realise that Paul Dumbrell is out of the race. The guys, I'm sure, in the pits will be telling him he's just got to drive a sensible race. The only thing that'll not allow him to win this championship if he doesn't finish. So he's just got to circulate and keep finishing.
Mark made the point in race 1 that Simon is receiving some assistance this weekend from CAT team engineer Les Laidlaw and tyre man Rod Lee. Now this is the view from Craig Harris's Ford, a big understeer and lock up in the wet there from David Truckee Parsons. Keep in mind, he too is a championship contender and can't afford that sort of thing to happen. But the point I was making is that with Laidlaw and Rod Lee on board...
Oops, Gary Holt.
Yeah.
In trouble down at the hairpin, manages to get it back onto the bitumen.
But Simon will hook up with those guys for the upcoming endurance events in the CAT team.
This is what happens so often when a championship is on the line, Craig. You'll see 3, 4, 5 guys coming into a championship who can win it in the final race, and it always seems to fall in one guy's favour. The wheels fall off everyone's battle, and there's one guy who starts to charge through the middle of it. Looks like it's Simon Wills at the moment.
Well, both for Simon and Paul and all the guys that were in contention, like very nerve-wracking weekend. It's not a normal weekend. Like, you got that in the back of your mind. You got the championship all hanging over you, and really just got to get out there, do your best. Every team for every driver knows it, and just a matter of just doing the best you can consistently and now finishing races.
Owen Kelly on the comeback trail here, looking for a way past Craig Harris in the Castrol Ford. Looks like he got a great run out of the final turn. As he came across the start-finish line, Kelly should have picked up a spot. Yep, he's done it.
Simon Wills, just a brilliant drive in difficult conditions, changeable conditions. The track was a little bit greasy, a little bit wet when the race started. Looks like it's dried out a bit now. The strong winds that blow across Mallala Raceway really helping to clean this circuit.
Owen is in 4th place in the championship coming into this round, and good to see him having a good run in the Bianchi model cars entry.
Well, it was a smart move yesterday in qualifying. The team has been chasing the right setup on their car. They weren't happy with it, so rather than going around and torturing his tyres for lap after lap, Craig, he decided just to save them for the race. Here's an incident earlier on. This is Simon Wills challenging for the lead.
Have another look at it from a different angle, and that's him moving through on Abel Nisa. So Simon Wills reading the conditions to perfection as Owen Kelly decides he's had enough and wants to get past Leanne Ferrier as quickly as possible. Eddie Abel Nisa just one position further up the road.
Yeah, he did some testing at Calder Raceway to find some more speed in the Commodore, and looks like Leanne Ferrier giving a bit of room to Owen Kelly. She may be struggling a little bit in these conditions. Very greasy. And when you're dealing with a car that weighs about 1,500 kilos with fuel and driver on board, Craig Lowndes, that's a bit of a handful.
Well, it is. It doesn't look like it's greasy or wet or damp right around the circuit, just in parts of it. And you got to understand, Owen Kelly's just slipped up again, made up another position.
Yep, he got past Ferrier for 4th and then through on Abel Nisa for 3rd. So in the space of half a lap, Owen Kelly has really made up some good ground here. Up the road ahead of him is Wallace, and then our race leader, which is, of course, Simon Wills. Big moment here for Leanne Ferrier.
Oh, she locks him up, went really way past the apex to the turn, managed to gather it up before she heads off into the grass. But I think she's gone off into the grass, Craig. Is that damage to the front end?
Definitely looks like damage. The front tyres don't look like the...
the front right.
Yeah, definitely. It's bent the steering wheel there, or bent the steering arms on the front end, so she's going to have some very bad timing.
Gee, they don't take much, do they? They're big, heavy, solid cars, but have a bit of a hit wheel to wheel, it damages the steering very easily.
Well, they're built obviously for strength, but in other areas like this, you've got to try and save weight where you can. And really, the cars are probably not designed to be hitting or making contact with other cars. So the steering probably takes the brunt of it.
Certainly not as violently as that. That was a fairly decent hit. Let's have another look at it.
Oh, yeah, that was a decent hit. Right up the Oh, another hit just into the bargain. I think that was actually as a result of her broken steering, though. I don't think that was anything malicious in that from Leanne. She manages to steer it off the racing line, and looks like the Valvoline Cummins challenge is over for the day. So this is really falling into the lap of Simon Wills.
Well, now he's just got to do is he's got to finish this race, and as you can see, all these guys are having a lot of problems with grip, and the tyres that these guys use are no different to us. And really, you've only got a selection of slick tyres or wet tyres. So you haven't got the intermediates that probably everyone would like in these conditions. We get a perfect tyre, but we just don't have that choice.
Abel Nisa, falls into the clutches of Craig Harris as he leaves him standing. I think Eddie's really struggling out there at the moment.
Something happened there. The Castrol Ford just rocketed away from Eddie Abel Nisa. But Harris is doing a good job. Let's have a look at another moment here in the slippery conditions. And Bill Attard locks it up in the Xerox Shop Commodore.
It's his first drive at Mallala Raceway for the veteran. He lost most of his time in the second practice session yesterday with starter motor problems, so he probably hasn't done as many laps around here as he'd like, getting caught out the tricky conditions. David Parsons, meanwhile, indication of the difficult weekend he's having. He's back in the pack trying to fight his way through. Terry Wyhern and Michael Simpson want to argue. You can see Simpson's carrying some battle damage all over the car, in fact. Hard under brakes at the end of the back straight. Simpson's well positioned on the inside. Very, very close. Terry Wyhern gives him room.
Simpson's got some good car speed at the moment, and that may be because of a good successful test in the last couple of weeks at Queensland Raceway.
Eddie Abel Nisa pulls out, so that's probably the reason why he was going very slow. Some problems there. Lots of cars having problems today. One of those was the Valvoline Cummins car of Leanne Ferrier. She's with Grant in pits.
And contact has taken out Leanne Ferrier as well.
Yes, moved alongside Albanica to pass him, and next thing I know, he's just whacked straight into me, and I just, it's bent the steering and I can't finish the race.
So that's any hope of a top 3 finish in this year's championship is all but shot right now for you?
Pretty much. I think the best I can hope for is probably around 6th or 7th now, so it's really disappointing, but, these things happen.
Yeah, they do. That's motor racing. Isn't that the old saying they say, Craig, when things go wrong? That's motor racing.
Definitely is, especially in these conditions. Anything can happen, and all these guys are all on the same bit of bitumen. But you stray a little bit away outside, and you see that really shiny grey, and then the actual real dark grey, and that's the dry line. And you sort of shy off that, and you're always in trouble.
We're travelling with Craig Harris in the Castrol Falcon. Keep in mind, Simon Wills started off 10th. He's fought his way through the lead. This is the final lap of race 2 of 3 races this weekend, and Simon Wills well on his way to claiming this championship. Most of his main contenders have dropped out or have struck trouble, including this man, David Parsons. I think he'd be very disappointed with his performance today, but not this man, Simon Wills. Absolutely dominant so far.
He has been quite incredible. Started this one from grid position 10, fought his way through to first. Simon Wills takes out race 2, 2 starts and 2 victories for the day for Simon Wills, and he edges closer to the Konica V8 Supercar Series title.
That's an extraordinary effort. I don't think I've seen anyone come from 10th to win a race throughout the Konica Series, so he can give himself and the crew a big pat on the back. That's a wonderful job.
Well, he'll start from pole for the final race of the day as well, and no one in this series so far has won all 3 races at any round of the championship, so could Simon Wills go on to do that today?
He's done a perfect job so far. Pole position and 2 race wins. You can't do better than that. Plenty of speed from the Commodore. And Malcolm Ramsey and his team doing a superb job. This was an incident just toward the end of that race. Owen Kelly ducking down the inside of Wallace, so Wallace trying to hold on in the slippery conditions, but not quite successful. Just looped the Falcon at the hairpin.
That's valuable points too for Owen Kelly in his championship bid. 2nd position in this race. So the young Tasmanian keeping his dream or championship alive in the Konica Series. Simon Wills wins it. Adam Wallace finishes in 3rd. That's a really good performance. Craig Harris in 4th. Truckee Parsons rounds out the 5.
Gary Holt and Dale Breed finished 9th and 10th. That's race 2. Race 3 to come in the Konica Championship a bit later in the show. Adam Wallace really getting caught out by the conditions. So too Eddie Abel Nisa and Leanne Ferrier. Unfortunately, both of those two having to retire from the race. So too Paul Dumbrell, which has really affected his championship chase against Simon Wills.
We'll talk about doing the business when it counts. Simon Wills, what a drive from 10th to 1st and to almost wrap up the championship right here in race 2.
It's fantastic. When I saw the rain coming, I was like, oh no, I don't need this with 10 cars in front of me all spinning around the place and that, but I couldn't ask for anything better. It was great. We had a little bit of a touch with Paul in turn 2, which was a bit unfortunate. I don't think he realised I was there. I got up the inside and just turned in, and I think he had a bit of a problem anyway. But it's just one of those things. I'd like to have raced him, flat out for the race, but anyway, things are looking pretty good, and roll on the last race. Here's hoping.
What a fantastic performance also this afternoon by Adam Wallace. Now, you're a local here around here, mate, and you wanted to do a good job. And if you had stayed there in that position, you almost might have finished third on the day.
Yeah, well, I thought, I didn't think I would go down on the wet, but he did, and he leaned on me a little bit, but that's the way it goes. And then I made a bit of a blue and spun it, but I'm wrapped.